What's going on, guys? It's the RPO podcast. We are back live. It's your favorite college football podcast. I'm your humble host, Jerome Jones. We got Ray Roberts in the building. How you doing today, Ray?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good. We got some new schedules out. We got a couple more players that got opted out. So we're gonna talk about all that today. But I do want to give a special shout out to everybody that's checking in on live right now. And we have a new audience. We are now live on Twitch. So, guys, if you want to watch on Twitch, if you rather watch on Twitch, we are now live on Twitch inside the hashes on Twitch. So make sure you check that out as well. How you been though, Ray?
I'm doing pretty well. And how about yourself?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Waiting for this season to start. Got a couple of weeks going. Getting
Yep.
ready to get this going. Obviously it's a watered down season, but I am definitely ready to see something.
Yep. Me too.
All right, let's get right into it. We're gonna talk about. If you haven't seen our podcast from last week, we were talking about the SEC schedule, and we're gonna jump right back into it. So I believe we ended off on week 6, right, Roy?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're gonna talk about week 7. So for the SEC new schedule, the new schedule that just came out a few weeks ago, when all the Big 12, the Big 10 and the SEC all opted out. Then now we got the new schedule for the SEC, and that's what we got now. So let's get right into that. Week 7. We got Tennessee at Kansas. We got Florida versus Georgia. We got Vanderbilt at Mississippi State. Texas A&M at South Carolina, and the teams that will be on a bye that week will be Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Missouri. Basically, all the good teams. So, right, what game are you most looking forward to in week 7?
The Florida and Georgia game is easily the best game of the day, and that should be I'm hoping what should be a pretty competitive game. I think Florida should be a decent team this year, so we'll see. Because I expect Georgia to be good too. So,
yeah, honestly, I feel like they're going to be about the same level. Both programs.
Talent wise, you're right. They are very on par with each other. I think Georgia's all up front is a little bit better on offense. Florida up front is a little better on defense. It should be a good match.
Jimmy Newton. That's what it is. Jimmy Newton. I don't know why I keep forgetting that he's on Georgia now. I keep forgetting. For some reason I still think he's on Wake Forest.
No, I think he's going to be a difference maker for Georgia this year. To be honest with you.
Oh yeah, he's definitely that puts Georgia a little bit ahead for me. That's the game I'm looking forward to. All the other 3 games. Obviously we're gonna watch it. We're football fans. We're college football fans. But
Vanderbilt and Mississippi State is not a good game. It could be competitive for a little while. Yeah. Texas A&M and South Carolina, it could be competitive for a little while. So competition-wise, it'll be okay, but Georgia and Florida will easily be the best game. So,
for sure. All right, let's get to week 8. Now we got all the teams are back. There's no teams on bye, which is a great thing. We got Alabama versus LSU. We got Arkansas versus Florida. We have Auburn versus Mississippi State. Georgia versus Mizzou. We got Vanderbilt versus Kentucky. South Carolina versus Ole Miss, and Texas A&M and Tennessee. What team do you like on that?
I think the final 3 games will all be competitive games, so that's always a good thing. And I think Alabama at LSU should be a pretty good game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good game. But again, this is going to be one of those years where LSU, we're going to see how they're going to match because they lost a lot of players. They're not going to be the team of last year. That's for sure. That's just put it out there. They're not going to be the team from last year. How do you think that game's going to fare though?
I expect Alabama to win.
Yeah,
but I think LSU is going to be a pretty decent team still. I mean, you could argue the argument is this: they're both going to lose. They both lost to starting quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. LSU lost Burrow and Alabama lost Tua, but Alabama, I think, will be more prepared to play without Tua than LSU will be able to play without Burrow, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the jury is still out for Matt Jones, I believe his name is the quarterback for Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, the jury's still out on him. I'm not convinced that he's a reliable quarterback yet. He was kind of sketchy for me watching
I
him.
mean, I agree with you. My thing about Alabama is they're going to run the ball, so
Oh yeah,
quarterback is not as important as it
yeah,
should be on
and
LSU.
plus they do got 2 first-round wide receivers, Najee Harris as well.
The thing about LSU, they didn't only lose the quarterback; they lost their best running back. They lost their second best receiver. They lost a lot, So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get into week 9. We got Kentucky versus Alabama, LSU versus Arkansas, Tennessee versus Auburn. We got Florida versus Vanderbilt, Mississippi State versus Georgia, Ole Miss versus Texas A&M, and Mizzou versus South Carolina. Who you got in that one?
I think that Ole Miss and Texas A&M will be a competitive game. Missouri at South Carolina should be fairly competitive. The rest of them games are crap.
yeah,
Let's
for
be
sure.
face it. I mean,
Yeah,
Alabama, Kentucky, LSU. They say LSU loses to Alabama in week 8. We think they're going to be prepared to play Arkansas week 9. Yeah. So, it's Tennessee at Auburn. For a half maybe. Then Auburn probably will win. I think Florida is a way better team than Vanderbilt. I just don't see them other games being competitive. Mississippi State at Georgia. That's a blowout probably. Ole Miss at Texas A&M. Missouri at South Carolina. Decent games probably.
Definitely. I agree. There's not much I can say about that week. I don't think that's one of the greater weeks, so we'll see how that goes. Let's move along to week 10. 10, right? Yeah. All right, week 10. We got Auburn versus Alabama, Arkansas versus Mizzou, Kentucky versus Florida, Georgia versus South Carolina, LSU versus Texas A&M, Mississippi versus Ole Miss, Mississippi State, I'm sorry, versus Ole Miss, and then Tennessee versus Vanderbilt.
I mean, again, we're looking at one good game, Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it'll be competitive, for the whole game. Probably not. Probably like the middle of the third quarter, Alabama will, step up and beat Alabama. Mississippi State at Ole Miss should be a good game. The rest of that is, again, teams are unmatched, uneven. Yeah. Florida, Kentucky, Georgia, South Carolina, LSU, Texas A&M. They're not going to be great games.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Definitely. I agree. The it's not LSU. The Auburn versus Alabama game is probably the most. Yeah,
I mean,
that's probably.
The problem is you don't know by then what's going to be going on. I mean, you could have injuries. You could have the virus being, doing something by then, or maybe before that. That's the whole problem with the season in general.
Yeah.
If one or two of these teams have any kind of issues with this virus, they're going to have to shut games down, and that's going to kill the whole season. So we'll see.
Definitely. Auburn had one of the better defenses last year. They lost some key pieces last year. I'm very intrigued to see how they pick up this year. They lost their two of the defensive linemen, their cornerback, I believe a safety, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yeah, but you know what? They're still going to be a pretty good team. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I would like to see how that defense is against.
I mean, everybody has Auburn ranked between 9 and 12, so we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and let's get to our last week, which is week 11. That's going to be in December. That will be Alabama versus Arkansas, Texas A&M versus Auburn, Florida versus Tennessee, Vanderbilt versus Georgia, South Carolina versus Kentucky, Ole Miss versus LSU, and Mizzou versus Mississippi State.
They're all bad games, really, to be honest with you.
Way to close the season.
Yeah, pretty much. South Carolina at Kentucky, we'll give it a half. It'll probably be okay.
Yeah.
Missouri at Mississippi State could be a decent game. Mm-hmm. Everything else there, you got Alabama and Arkansas. Come on.
Yeah.
Texas A&M. If Texas A&M, Auburn were at Texas A&M, probably could be a half decent game, but Auburn playing at home again a week after they play Alabama, probably going to be a game they're going to look to win. So
yeah, it makes it hard when they have to schedule within their conference that you don't have the quality of games now. Like you got a couple of games here and there, but the schedule is just scary looking.
You don't have any easy out of conference games. Mm-hmm. You don't. But it's going to just, I mean, honestly, it just shows you, that Alabama, Florida, Georgia, LSU, they're probably the best teams in this conference. You're looking to see if maybe Auburn can step up there and be as good as them other teams. But I don't see where anybody gets in Alabama's way in this conference. I really don't.
No.
I don't.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a slaughterfest.
I mean, I think that LSU. I think LSU will be okay. I think they'll probably win 10 games, 9 games, 10 games. If they do better than that, I'd be a little bit surprised. I mean, you got to remember before last year, and Burrow took that huge leap from one year to the next. They were considered a good team. They were never considered a top 5 team. Not until the season started, and they started on a roll. So
definitely. So yeah, you never know. Every season is a new season, so it's a little bit different when you say that with college football, but you can't say that because, like you say, LSU kind of came out of nowhere last year, and look what happened to them. There was,
everybody's
historically one of the best teams ever.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knew that LSU had a pretty good defense last year.
Oh yeah,
and the fact that Burrow again played out of his mind the whole year,
and it switched their offense for him.
Exactly, and right, which made them a little different. By the time people started to catch up with him, it was too late. There's just too many players on offense on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was an incredible year. I'm glad we got to have that year last year because imagine last year being like this year. You wouldn't have been able to see that.
No, well, imagine if Alabama's in the game and no Tua, say Joe Burrow doesn't do that, then you're probably looking at a really Clemson would have just steamrolled everybody.
Yeah.
So
definitely. So yeah, and you need that every once in a while. So
you do. It's always nice to have a surprise. I mean, it's like I just like when a couple years ago when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Yeah. I think that everybody thought that the Eagles would be a pretty good team, but no one saw that coming. It just when it happens and it kind of sneaks up on you, it's exciting. It is.
Yep, it is. That's also it's great. It's great to not see Alabama steamrolling everybody every year. So
I'm not a Clemson detractor. I'm not. I like their coach. I think they're a good program. Mm-hmm. But to watch them have to compete last year, because after Tua got hurt, the only one that was going to be able to compete against them was Clemson.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? So,
Correct. All right, let's get into some opt-outs like we talked about earlier. We got a couple of guys that opted out, one being one close to me, which is Ambry Thomas, cornerback from Michigan. I'm a Michigan fan. If you guys don't know, if you tune in for the first time, huge Michigan fan. He opts out for the year, which makes sense. Big 10 is not playing. He's opting now. He want to go straight to the draft, which makes sense. He's a good corner. So Ray, let's talk about him. Will you feel like he's gonna go in the draft, or will he go? Being that he's going to be playing this year.
This kid's a solid second day pick.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get taken in the second round, he'll be taken early in the third. He's a good player. He's a position where, again, we have this debate back and forth. I'm not going to get into I think you need good corners, but you need a bunch of good corners, not just one good, really, really good one and a bunch of average ones. You need depth at cornerback. And this guy is a guy who will give you that. He can play in the slot some. He can play outside for you. He can help out with special teams, and he's got good speed, and he's a good, solid size and athlete. So he's a good player. He'll be a second-day pick. Could he go into the combine if we have a combine and blow it? Yeah, he could because he runs a 4.3, a 4.4 something. So he can go there and help himself if we have a combine. Again, my only thought is for him it don't matter. Michigan's not going to play anywhere, so he could either transfer somewhere else and hope to play, or he could just enter the draft. And hey man, good for him.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, the difference, he's not one of them guys that he didn't just say, you know what, I'm not going to play this year, even though my team's playing. His team's not playing this year, so there's nothing he can really do about that. Because when we talked about last week, I said I would be afraid if I were a player and my team was going to play this year, and I just went by last year's tape, and we don't have a combine.
Yeah.
That's what would scare me.
From what I'm hearing is that if a player don't opt out, they have eligibility for next year if they choose to play.
Well, I don't see. Here's the thing. I don't know how old this kid is. So maybe that enters the way. Like if you're a 19, 20-year-old, man, do what you want. You want to play college for one more year. But if I were 22 or 23, I'd probably be looking to jump into the NFL as soon as I could, so.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up now. But, Ray, I will say one thing. I think I'm starting to rub off on you, Ray, because when I first met you, it was, you can get cornerbacks by shaking a tree. But now you're coming along, you're saying, hey, hey, cornerbacks, you don't need just one, you need a couple of good ones. And, I think I'm rubbing off on you, Ray.
Every year, man, you see these teams throwing the ball more and more. So you better be ready to carry, let's face it, man, 4 good corners. You better.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have at least 3 or 4 good corners, someone's going to torch you, especially if they have a good quarterback. So
definitely.
And that's the other thing. You see a lot of good young quarterbacks entering the NFL right now. So you better adjust them. If not, Elway and Marino and Kelly will make you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and they're starting to breed a lot more slot corners now, which is telling you a lot as well.
Well, because that slot receiver has become a focal point weapon, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and the slot corner is almost like his own position at this point now.
That's why you see Miami sign, corners and go out and draft Bogbe. I hate saying that name, but because that kid can play in the slot right now, and probably play with most of the guys that are going to line up against them. I mean, Miami they have 5 good corners. 2 are 2 of the best in the league, and then they have a bunch of young guys that are pretty good players.
Definitely.
I'm excited about Miami secondary.
I'm trying to get Embry's age, and I cannot find it. So, if anybody,
I know he was a senior this year, was a junior last year. So I'm going to assume he's 22.
I'm assuming 21, 22. I see that.
Yeah,
for sure. So I couldn't find it. If any of our listeners are listening and they know his age, please send out a comment. What was you saying, Ray? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. If I'm 21, 22, and I'm looking at a dead season where I'm not doing anything, then get in shape, enter the draft. Go for it.
Definitely. And let's talk about the next guy then while we were talking. Rashad Slater from where's he from?
Northwestern.
Say it again?
Northwestern.
There you go. For Northwestern. So Ray, how you feel about him?
I think he's a really good athlete.
Yeah.
I think even though he plays left tackle at Northwestern, he'll probably transition inside and play a pretty good guard.
Yeah.
Solid length, good athlete, strong, strong upper body. His base is not great. That's something he's got to improve on. But he's a good player, and he'll get drafted. I probably wouldn't draft him until the 3rd round, me. But you will see again, he's another guy that he's got good feet. He's going to be he's a big dancing bear type of a guy. He moves well. He plays left tackle. He's only 6'3", so he moves well. Can he gain a little lower body strength and become a complete player? That's going to be the question about him.
Definitely. And we got our first comment in here. Are SEC, Big 12, and ACC still playing this year? Yes, they are. I'm sorry, I don't know your name at this point, so I'll get that in a second. But yes, They are all three of them are playing right now, and it's actually what we're gonna be talking about really soon. We're gonna talk about the Big 12 schedule. So if you wasn't in here earlier, we will be talking about that schedule. As of right now, nobody seems to be opting out of the season as far as the conferences, and they should be playing. And that was Remy. So what's up, Remy? How you doing today? Good to see you on here, Remy. But yeah, there's no announcement saying that they aren't. And I think as of right now, I think they're going to continue the season. I mean, it's so close. I think we got about a week, 2 weeks before a lot of the teams are trying to play. Let me check the Big 12. I think their first game is September 12th.
Yes.
So about 2 weeks from now, a little bit over. Yeah. So
2.5, 3.
Definitely. Right. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with Slater?
No, again, I think he's a draftable player.
Yeah.
I think if you get him in the 4th or 5th round, he's a really good player.
Correct.
Again, I think he'll transition as a guard, so he won't be a before the 3rd round. I don't believe.
Definitely. No, I agree. Yeah, I think he's a solid player. Him opting out, I don't think didn't matter at all, with the whole situation. So I think it's a decent choice.
He's coming off of a good year, has some really nice tape last year. So you know what? Again, go to the combine, show people you have good feet, show them that you have a little athleticism. We'll be fine.
Definitely. All right, let's talk about the Big 12 like we were just talking about. So with the new Big 12 schedule, we're going to go through their schedule real quick, talk about 1 or 2 games that we liked for that week, and then move it along. So September 12th is the week 1, and it will consist of Missouri State versus Oklahoma, East Kentucky versus West Virginia, Arkansas State versus Kansas State, Coastal Carolina versus Kansas, Houston Baptist versus Texas Tech, Tulsa versus Oklahoma State, SMU versus TCU, UTEP at Texas, Louisiana State. Oh, that's kind of weird how they had that. Louisiana versus Iowa State. There you go. And then Louisiana Tech versus Baylor. So which one of those games stick out to you, Ray?
That's a bunch of crap, is what that is, man.
Man,
I don't really like any of them games, dude. SMU, TCU should be a decent game, I guess. Arkansas State, Kansas State. If you're looking for competitive games, dude, they're the games. I mean, there's no good teams in this conference playing each other. Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Texas, Oklahoma, they're all playing, teams that aren't great. So I don't see any games that excite me.
Nah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah, same thing. Maybe the MSU versus Texas, TCU.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best one there. Yeah. But yeah, that's about it, right? So let's move on to
we know the teams in this conference are, well, if we're right about our predictions, are going to be Iowa State, Oklahoma, Texas, and Oklahoma State. They're the best 4 teams in this conference, and none of them play each other yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a week 2, which is September 19th, and that says open. So I'm not sure what that means. Maybe they're gonna take some of these September 12th teams and put them in week 2. I don't know. It just says open. So not sure what that means. Maybe we'll have to look into that. If anybody knows what that means, please put it in the comment section. Ray, do you know what that means?
I think they're not sure what time the game will start yet.
Okay, yeah, they don't even have no games on it. It literally just says it's open. So
I think they're not sure exactly what time the game is going to start, or maybe they're not sure if there is going to be a game.
Okay, well, we got open week 2. We have a week 3 schedule, and that's going to consist of Kansas versus Baylor, Iowa State versus TCU, Kansas State versus Oklahoma, West Virginia versus Oklahoma State, Texas versus Texas Tech. What do you think?
I mean, do I think any of them games are exciting? No, but I like West Virginia a little bit at Oklahoma. I like West Virginia at Oklahoma a little bit. I think that'll be a decent game.
It's Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. I think West Virginia, Oklahoma State will be a decent game. I think Iowa at TCU could be a decent game.
Yeah.
But that's going to be it, dude. Everything else there.
Yeah.
We'll see about Baylor. New coaching staff. We'll see. I think they'll be okay. Mm-hmm. That could be a decent game. Kansas at Baylor.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think
West Virginia at Oklahoma State will probably be the best game of the day.
I agree with that. And I am intrigued by Texas versus Texas Tech because I think that Texas Tech is mightily underrated. I think they're underrated. I think they're going to be a lot better this year. I think they're going to be good. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I do want to see that game just because I do think they're underrated, and I do want to see them against a better team.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Let's get to week 4. Now, week 4 is split up into 2. So they have an October 3rd week 4 and an October 10th week 4. So the first half of that is Baylor versus West Virginia, Oklahoma versus Iowa State, Oklahoma State versus Kansas, Texas Tech versus Kansas State, and TCU versus Texas.
Mm-hmm. I think that Baylor at West Virginia will be a decent game.
Yeah.
I like the Oklahoma State at Iowa State. That's a good game.
Yeah. That's going to be a really good game, I think.
Yeah, I think the Oklahoma at Iowa State should be a good game.
That's going to be a really good game.
Yeah. Could be the best game of the day for sure.
For sure. All right. And then the second half of the week 4, we got Texas Tech versus Iowa State. Oh, wait, hold on. So Iowa State plays twice in that week? That's so weird. I don't understand how this works.
I have one of them as the game, the 3rd, and then the 10th. I have in week 3, I have October 3rd, Baylor at West Virginia, Texas Tech at Kansas State, Oklahoma State at Kansas, TCU at Texas, Oklahoma at Iowa State. And then I have the next week, Kansas State at TCU, Texas Tech at Iowa State, Oklahoma. And Texas. Oh, there's a good game though. On the 10th, the week. I guess it's week 3, right?
Yeah.
No, week 4, kind of. Week 4. That's the problem, Jerome. There's only 3 games in week 4.
Yeah,
that's where the confusion's coming in. Yeah.
So my list is messed up. So I see what's going on. So the week 2 that they have on here, they switched it. I guess they scrapped that on yours and made my week 3 your week 2, and then my week 4 your week 3, and then since I got double week 4, my week 4 is the October 10th. So yeah, Oklahoma versus Texas. That's going to be a real good one. That's going to be an Cotton Bowl, Texas. I'm sorry, Dallas. Cotton Bowl, Dallas. That's going to be a good game. I think that's probably going to be a good prime time game that they have right there.
And like I said, for some reason, the 10th week, what would be week 4, they only have 3 games that day.
Yeah, very weird. I guess that means the other teams are just going to be on bye. I don't know.
Yeah, so on this schedule, it doesn't show me who has a bye at all.
So. Mine neither. Yeah, it's very confusing. All right, let's get into week 5. So you have week 5. I only got 2 teams for week 5, October 17th.
2 games on week 5.
Yeah.
Kansas at West Virginia and Oklahoma State at Baylor.
Yep. Same.
And Kansas at West Virginia is a crap game. Oklahoma State at Baylor could be okay.
I think Kansas City and West Virginia is going to be closer than you think. Like I think that teams itself is not good, but I think that's going to be a good game.
I think West Virginia is a little better than Kansas. I'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah, they are better than Kansas.
I think it'll be a 10-point game. So,
okay, all right.
I mean, I haven't seen a line, of course not, because if I could see the line for week 10, I'd be in a different line of work, brother.
Range lines. All right, let's get into week 6. We got Baylor versus Texas, Iowa State versus Oklahoma State. Didn't they just play each other? Oh my goodness! Hold on. Yeah. No. Oh, State. I'm sorry. Okay. Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Iowa State versus Oklahoma State. There we go. Okay. Kansas versus Kansas State. Oklahoma versus TCU, and West Virginia versus Texas Tech.
Actually, that's not a bad day of football.
That's not. That's really
All
good.
competitive games, pretty much. Oklahoma and TCU will probably not be that close of a game, but it's in TCU, so for a half or so, it would probably be a decent game.
Yeah. So if these weeks line up to how the SEC weeks line up, we're going to be watching a lot more Big 12 games. SEC.
Yeah, because they had more competitive games, and again,
Yeah.
they're not so top heavy. You know what I mean? Like the SEC is.
I agree. All right. Week 7 we on. TCU versus Baylor, Oklahoma. I'm sorry. Iowa State versus Kansas, Kansas State versus West Virginia, Oklahoma versus Texas Tech, and Texas versus Oklahoma State. Well, I think TCU versus Baylor is always a game. I'm not sure who's TCU's quarterback, the guy from last year.
Yeah, the same guy.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. I think it'll be an okay game. Again, I don't know what to expect from Baylor. I don't. They
Yeah.
lost a decent amount of players. They lost their coaching staff. So we'll see. I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, because Matt Rose not gonna be in there no more.
No, he's down in Carolina now, so we'll see.
That's true. Yeah, that's another team that you can pit into. Wait and see how this goes, especially with the Corona.
Texas at Oklahoma State should be a decent game.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
Yeah. So
all right. Week 8, we got Baylor versus Oklahoma State, Kansas versus Oklahoma. I'm sorry, Baylor versus Iowa State, Kansas versus Oklahoma, Oklahoma State versus Kansas State, Texas Tech versus TCU, and West Virginia versus Texas.
That is a horrible week of football right there, man.
I was waiting for you to say it.
That is a horrible week of football.
I was waiting for you to say it.
I don't remember what the SEC has going on that week, but man, I hope it's better than that.
That's a bad one. That is
bad games, dude.
That's a terrible week.
Unless Baylor's better than I think, that's a bad week of football, man.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, week 9, we only got 2 games. We got Baylor versus Texas Tech and TCU versus West Virginia.
That's nothing to worry about either, dude. That's like you won't even recognize it. Them games will be played at like 9 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're bad
games. They're not good games either.
All right, let's get to week 10. Kansas State versus Iowa State, Texas versus Kansas, Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma.
Of course, that's a good game. That's a big game.
Yeah. That one's always a big game. It's a rivalry game. Yeah.
It's a real big game. I mean, obviously every game going down the stretch of the season is a big game, but that's a big game. That's a rivalry game. That's a big game.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. That's probably the only game I'm watching then. Hopefully we have a good week 11, because I definitely remember SEC's week 11 was garbage. So let's see.
And we gotta see what the ACC is going to do that week too. So we'll see.
That's true. We'll get to the ACC next week. So I just wonder we'll do ACC next week. All right. Week 11, Kansas State versus Baylor, Iowa State versus Texas, TCU versus Kansas State versus Baylor, Oklahoma at West Virginia.
Well, they gave me one good game to watch, so we're stepping up now.
Yeah, a little bit. Not much.
Well, Iowa State at Texas should be a decent game. A defensive game, nothing else, you know.
Yeah. There's not much to be desired there, but it's definitely better than the SEC.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And apparently they got one more week than the SEC. Okay, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, the SEC week ends on December 5th. This is week 12 for the Big 12, and theirs is December 5th. So if I'm not mistaken, they align correctly, but I think they still have one more week for the Big 12. So that will consist of Baylor at Oklahoma, West Virginia versus Oklahoma State, Kansas at Texas Tech, Texas is at Kansas State, and Oklahoma State at TCU.
Let's hope Oklahoma State at TCU is a decent game because
Yeah.
the rest of those games will not be any good. So
no, that's a lot.
No, that's not good. So
Yeah. So yeah, this list makes it really hard to determine some good games because again, a lot of these teams are going to be playing each other. They left a lot of teams out as well.
Yeah.
So
the problem is you don't have any out of conference games, and you don't have it. You don't have any of them games to throw in there.
Mhm.
So you just got games against each other every week, and they're just again, unless you have we know college football is our top heavy conferences. They are.
Yeah.
The best teams in the SEC. There's like 3 or 4 of them that could win, and the other ones are going to be fighting for the middle of the road. You know what I mean? And that's all there is. So
yeah, these there's going to be a lot of repeat games. There's going to be a lot of games that you're just like about. So you got to make sure that you're checking out the right games. You got to make sure you're checking out the right games still.
I hate to say this with all the Ohio State fans out there, but I mean it's not only and them too, of course. But the whole thing about having that and not having any of the Big Ten teams in this is really going to this is a farce as a national title championship this year. It really is, dude. I mean, I understand you're still going to have 2 of the top 5 teams in college football, but or 3 even maybe, but not having Penn State, Ohio State, and even Michigan because they're Michigan, not having them in this just it feels wrong, to be honest with you.
It really does. It really
It
does.
does. It's wrong. It's like having a pro season and cutting out a division. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem right.
Definitely. Yeah, it's gonna be very weird to see how this goes, and we're gonna see how teams adjust to it, and we're gonna see if these teams are gonna be. It's gonna be the same teams in the playoffs, which is like 90% sure it's gonna be the same team. It's gonna be boring. It might be a little boring. Hopefully we get like we talked about earlier. Hopefully a team emerges. I don't see that really happening, especially with COVID and not a lot of teams being able to practice like they want to and all that. And then all the distractions and stuff. So the best teams are going to stay the best teams, and it's not going to be any that much competition for them.
I mean, really, what you need is LSU to stay relevant. You need Auburn and Florida to do what we think they can do, and even you need Texas to be good this year. Like we keep thinking they're going to be good. They're going to be Texas again. This season, college football needs that. They don't want it. They need it. Yeah. Because without Ohio State, especially Ohio State, I'm not stupid. I understand. Especially without Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan, but especially Ohio State, it's just not right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And getting into the teams that are not going to be out, we're going to talk about the AP poll. So the AP poll just came out with the preseason poll. They included the teams that are not going to be playing. So we're just going to run through it, give our suggestions, see if any team should be higher or lower. Obviously, the teams that are not going to be in there should be lower, obviously, or out the poll itself.
Well, I pretty much just knocked them teams off of my list, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, let me read the original poll, and then we're going to see what you think, Ray.
Okay.
About this, and where would you place everybody else in there? So we have number 1 Clemson, number 2 Ohio State, number 3 is Alabama, number 4 is Georgia, Number 5 is Oklahoma. Number 6 is LSU. Number 7 is Penn State. Number 8 is Florida. Number 9 is Oregon. Number 10 is your Notre Dame. Number 11 is Auburn. Number 12 is Wisconsin. Number 13 is Texas A&M. Number 14 is Texas. 15 is Oklahoma State. Number 16 is my Michigan Wolverines. Number 17 is USC. Number 18 is North Carolina. Number 19 is Minnesota. Number 20 is Cincinnati. 21 is UCF. 22 is Utah. 23 is Iowa State. 24 is Iowa, and 25 is Tennessee. So, with that being said, what do you think about that list in general? Just in general.
I mean, I think the list is fine. I think Alabama is as good as Clemson. I think they will do. I think if everything was relevant and normal, I would have Ohio State number 1. I would have Alabama number 2, and I would have Clemson number 3. Yeah.
Okay. I think honestly, I could see why they have Clemson at number 1 because they didn't lose a ton. They did lose their number 1 receiver, but like they have a receiver that they can drop right into there. Defensively, I don't think they lost Isaiah Simmons. They lost their safety as well. That went to the Eagles, but I don't think they lost like huge amounts. Tanner Muse as well, they lost him. I don't think they lost a lot though. So like, I think that might be why they have them at number 1.
I think as long as they have Trevor Lawrence, they're going to be good.
Exactly.
I don't think
they still have Travis Etienne.
They still have Etienne. Their offense will be fine.
Yeah.
Again, I think that their defense struggled at times last year. I don't expect them to be as good this year. And I don't think they're Alabama. I don't think they could just insert guys and they step up and do the same job. I don't. So,
really?
What do you think?
I think defensively they can. Offensively, they can't as much. But I think
Dustin Ross is not playing this year, correct?
Oh, yeah, he got injured.
So they don't have a number 1 receiver.
Yeah, that play. Ray, you put out a good point right there. Wow, I totally forgot he got injured. Wow.
And he's better than the other guy too. So, but they don't have him now neither. So again, they're going to be good, and they may prove me wrong. They may win the whole thing. I'm not saying they can't because they can. Yeah. But if I had to rank them, I would have Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson. That's all.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I was just playing difficult.
No. I understand. And the reason why if you look at I hate to go if you look at the draft for next year, I've looked at a couple mock drafts. They have the teams basically located that drafted high this year in the same spots next year. I'm going to be honest with you, not to beat the Miami drum. If Miami only wins 5 or 6 games again this year, I'm going to be pretty upset. I'm not going to lie about it. Do I expect them to be No, but I expect them to step forward and win 7 or 8 games. And if they don't do at least that, I'm going to be very disappointed. If they won 5 games with that slop they had last year, they've upgraded in every position. I don't get it. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. So, right, let me know who you have in your pool. Even if with the pandemic going, I want to know taking those teams out. Who do you have? I want to hear your list. I'll
give you my top 20, okay? Or top 19, because I had Oregon, even though I know Oregon's not playing either.
Yeah.
So I have them in my list, but I'm going to knock them out too. I would have Alabama. Now, the AP has Clemson, but I would have Alabama. I would have Clemson. I'd have Georgia, Oklahoma, LSU, Florida, Notre Dame, Auburn, Texas A&M, North Carolina, Texas, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, UCF, Iowa State, Tennessee, Memphis, Virginia Tech, Boise State.
No Iowa?
No Iowa. And Iowa would be my number 20 team, Iowa.
Okay, so that'll be the next one. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. You have Notre Dame at what, like 8,
I had them 7.
7?
I had them. If they have them right now, as far as I'm concerned, with taking out the teams that aren't going to play this year, they have Notre Dame at 8. I would have them at 7.
Okay, that's a
I
fair.
would have them. I would have them in front of Auburn. Some people have Auburn ahead of them. I don't see that. I think Notre Dame will win 9 or 10 games. I could see Auburn only winning 8 or 9. I think Notre Dame will. Don't get me wrong, talent wise, are close.
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame has a better coaching staff. I think Notre Dame will be a better team than Auburn, not by a lot, but by enough to there'll be a higher ranked team.
Definitely.
The one team I have ranked higher, I had North Carolina at 10. No one else has them higher than 14 or 15.
I think they're
Some
going to
people have them. I think they're going to be better than people think. I expect them to step up. I expect them to maybe finish in the top 8 by the end of the season.
Wow.
I told you last week. I think that they are a legitimate shot at being in the playoff talk for the first half of the season.
I believe that too. I think you're believing in Sam Howell. You're your guy, Sam Howell,
and Mac Brown. If the coach and the quarterback work, man, the team works.
Nice. Definitely.
And you know, I'm a Mac Brown fan, so.
You are. You say it all the time. So, Ray, quick question before we get off. Have they released the Notre Dame schedule? If you have any knowledge of that,
they have, Jerome, but I don't have it in front of me right now.
Okay.
I think if you want, I could get it for next week.
Well,
I think. Don't get me wrong. I think Notre Dame. I think they have the same starting team this year as they had last year.
Yeah.
They haven't made any changes. Now I'm a little bit annoyed that Ian Book is playing again this year but they lost the other quarterback.
Yeah.
And Ian Book is a good college football player. Correct. My thing with Book is that when things aren't perfect, you remember we talked about a clean pocket? Yeah. Ian Book, when clean pocket, is a really good quarterback. The problem is the pocket doesn't always stay clean. Okay, man? And that's all there is to it. All right?
So you're calling him Kirk Cousins?
Yes, pretty much. Well, no. Yeah, I'm calling him Kirk Cousins. He doesn't play Kirk Cousins. No, in the NFL, he's not even as good as Kirk Cousins.
No.
But he's a good college player.
Correct. I got you. Great. So, guys, thank you so much for checking us out. That's going to end our podcast for today. Please make sure you check us out each week. We're on every Wednesday at 7:00. So please check us out on here. We would like to thank everybody that checked us out live on all our platforms. We are new to Twitch, so thank you for all our Twitch viewers. We have some new Twitch guys that popped in here today. I can't see who you are right now, but we do welcome our Twitch family and help us grow and by sharing this, liking it. Make sure you letting your friends and family get to see this so we can help us grow. And speaking of helping us grow, we have a catalog of player interviews that we have that are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. All you have to do is literally just listen to that, and it supports us. So please go in there and check that out as well. Just a click of a play. You don't have to buy anything. You have to subscribe to anything. Literally, all you have to do is just go on, click, play, and listen to our player interviews. A lot of players that we talk about today or we're going to interview in the future, they will be on there. So make sure you check that out inside the hashes. And please follow us on all our social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and Twitter. Inside hashes for Twitter. So I'm Jerome Jones. We got Ray Roberts right here in the building. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Make sure you check us out next week. We'll talk about the ACC. We'll talk about some Notre Dame stuff and any new news that we might get, any players that opt out or anything like that. This will be your number one place to come in, check it out, listen to us ramble for about an hour, and have some fun. Put some comments in the comment section, and we will respond to those. So thank you guys so much. We love to see you, and we'll see you again next week. Peace.